Welcome to What the F Am I Doing?
World Headquarters!
Have you ever met somebody and thought immediately, I think this person's gonna be successful at whatever they choose to do in life? I've known today's guest for a long, long time, and I'm pretty sure that I had that exact same thought when I first met him, when he was just a high school kid. He is somebody that's taken a hobby and turned that hobby into a passion, and that passion has led to a career that's really taken him around the world. He's a pretty exciting guy to know, and I'm pretty proud to say that I know him. So, without further ado, let me introduce to you Mr. Daniel Jeremiah. Daniel, talk to us a little bit about, let's just tell the world who you are and what you do. Let's start there.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think what I'm most known for probably right now is I make videos, take pictures. I just do creative stuff. I think forever creativity has been at the core of what I've tried to do with my life, and I just didn't stick it, like find the thing until much later in my life. But yeah, as of right now, I make stuff. I like to take pictures, shoot videos. Lately getting into some artsy stuff with my kids, figuring out that I like to color, so having a good time with some of that. But yeah, no, pretty much just do creative stuff. It's good.
Really hitting some high level paint by numbers.
Yeah, really good at getting in those lines right now. I'm feeling really good about it.
I mean, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
You've been, as long as I've known you, passionate about everything that you do.
Yeah.
But you've always, I think, been able to strike that balance that not a lot of really passionate creatives can do of being like a good, normal human being, but also very creative and passionate about whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's, art or sports or, I think when I first met you, you were in high school playing basketball. So
that's right.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's something I've admired about you for years and years and years. So
thanks, man. I mean, my wife might disagree with you that I can be a normal human being, because it's true. I get. She uses the word obsessed. Like I laser beam in on something. So if I get the slightest interest, then I want to go all the way, figure it out, watch tutorials, be the best I can be at it, even if that's like perler beads, Super Mario necklaces, which that's a real thing I got into for a while. There's a YouTube tutorial.
One more time, what is that?
There's a YouTube tutorial online right now from like '08 of me showing you how to make a perler bead necklace out of any 8-bit Nintendo character, and I would wear them around.
Wow.
Like I sold a lot of them off my neck to moms who wanted it for their kids. But there's a tutorial on YouTube right now. If you just type in my name and perler bead Mario necklace, it's
perler hustle.
Yeah, it's not
Living
bad.
that perler life.
But no, I mean honestly though, like that does just define my life. I mean that when I was in high school and it was sports, I was tunnel vision and it was like, I'm gonna go to the NBA. Just what it is. No other option. Not having the realistic like ideals of what that really meant. It was like, oh, I finally had to decide maybe I'm not gonna do that.
Right.
I might not have the chops for that.
I had the same dream in like second grade.
Yeah.
I was like, what do I want to be when I grow up? Pro basketball player.
Yep.
Totally.
Yep,
and every time on those questions when you do the goal setting, I'm like, I'm so tired of writing NBA All-Star all the time. I'm like, it's like, of course, it's what everybody knows. That's what I'm going to go do. And like, so yeah, I don't know. I just like, once I figured out though that creativity was specifically with like video and with photos, was a way for me to express myself. Up until that point, I only had my family to show stuff to, and they're never going to say a bad thing about anything you do. You make anything and you show your mom and your sister and your dad, they're like, oh man, that's just great, honey. But it was never this idea of, could you make money?
Right.
Could I make a living taking pictures, shooting video? And it's evolved to way more than that since then. Like I've done a lot of things in the last 8 to 10 years, but like the idea of that I make a living now just doing the one thing that fuels me most creatively is kind of a mind blow. It's crazy to me.
That's so cool. I mean, we all met, well, not met, but really hung out a lot because we worked for the same coffee company. And one of the really cool things about that line of work is none of us really work more than about 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of extra time to go fuel whatever fire you're into, and
Or piss it away.
or piss it away, which frankly most of us probably did. Yeah. But every once in a while you run into somebody that was super into, exploring what they were into. And I think the thing that really caught my eye when you were doing that, I remember you bringing in a skateboard one time to our warehouse that you had outfitted as for a camera.
Yeah.
And you had the camera on it and you were moving
dolly.
it back and forth as a camera dolly, taking really cool shots of the underside of the espresso machine as espresso dripped out. And I was like, God, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen, man.
I have a tutorial on YouTube on how to make that too.
So Daniel actually has cornered the market on YouTube videos.
And if you want to make things out of PVC pipe and plywood, you can go check it out.
Dude, you can make anything out of PVC pipe, I feel like.
Also, nobody needs to go to college anymore. Like,
No.
there just needs to be a YouTube degree.
That's right. That's so true.
I don't need to go to college. I can Google this.
So true. Funny story about those early days of learning video stuff. The video, and it's nothing to you, Casey, but one of the videos I show as how far I've come is the video we shot for a promotional video that was just, we did it on a whim really quick. It was really silly, had one little funny beat, but there's so much technical error in how I shot it, captured it, everything. And so I use it as a reference when I'm teaching people.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is where I started. And people still think it's funny, but they're like, but yeah, it looks terrible. It looks terrible.
Was it the one where we were filming? Yeah.
With
I was telling these guys about this earlier.
Yeah, we were literally just talking about that
so
earlier.
funny.
So just for the two of us in here that weren't in the room when we filmed that, the context was we were making these. Well, Daniel was making these little short videos for the coffee company that we worked for that we were just kind of putting on a YouTube page, mostly as just an excuse to watch Daniel do cool things and be on camera. And I talked him into letting me be in one of them where we would it was like a tight shot of some guy's face, and he was supposed to be chilling at the beach, right? Mm-hmm. And then pan back out, and we were sitting in our warehouse, and he was on a lawn chair, and I was fanning him, and I squirted him in the face with a
It
spray
holds
bottle.
up, man. It's still funny.
Yeah, right?
It's still a funny bit.
I mean,
you
I
also
thought-
did the voiceover for that.
Oh,
You
right.
did the radio voiceover.
This was my first voiceover.
Yeah, it's
So-
great.
And here we are.
That's right.
Everyone talks about, especially I think when you're working with young people, you always have that conversation with people like, hey, you can do whatever you want, right? You just got to get out there and make it happen. Like that old cliche where if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life or whatever. You're one of the first people that I ever knew that did that, where you literally just took something you were passionate about and you kept doing it until someone finally paid you for it.
It's that you're not wrong at all. But it's funny because I love that you brought up the kind of the cliche of, find what you love and do it and get good at it and don't let anybody tell you different, and it's garbage. It's a horrible, horrible piece of advice, in my opinion.
Passion, I think, is really overused.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's because I feel like I work harder than I ever have in my whole life, but I would never change it. But it'd be lying to say every day is just floating out of bed, every moment is blissful. It's no, I work really hard to keep doing what I'm doing, but I also have perspective of what it was like to clean spreader parts at a mill on a graveyard shift.
Right.
I don't want to go back to that. And so,
You're never if you have a job like that, I think, in my opinion, if you work for someone else or you're not doing whatever it is that you're passionate about, potentially you may not love what you do, but you're also probably not just clawing to keep yourself in it, right? There's some very nice comfort in knowing that you can show up for your shift and at the end of the week there's going to be some money and, whatever. But if you're working for yourself and you're doing that passion project, sometimes you're just trying to keep your head above water.
Totally.
Which is a panic thing. Yeah, that's not floating to work. That's trying not to
It's
drown.
really scary.
Whoever said that if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life or whatever.
Yeah.
They were full of shit, man.
It's
Bunch
true.
of jerks.
And it's true. It's the piece about that I think is wrong is there are plenty of days where making videos feels very much like a job.
Yeah.
Where I'm this feels no different than any other job. But because I care about the craft, I keep trying to get better at the craft. and I know I've got a different opportunity next time. And that is the difference to me, and that changes my mindset about the work. So it's still a job, but my mindset is different than it was when I was cleaning spreader parts.
Yeah.
Right? Like I have a reason to do it. And so I kind of like, where I kind of go with it now is you just have to have a reason. You have to have a reason to want to do a good job at whatever it is you're doing.
Right.
If I were to go back today and have to go back to cleaning spreader parts, I'd have to be able to find a reason to want to be good at it.
Somehow take pride in your work.
Yeah. How can I care to make it worth my time? And anyway, that it's not about the work. It's about your mindset and approach to that work.
If you've ever taken a class at a community college, right? If you're the, and maybe it's all colleges, I don't know, but if there's frequently some older people that are sprinkled in on the class, and those people are always sitting up front, and they've taken copious notes, and they're raising their hand all the time, they're answering all the questions, and if you're a 19, 20-year-old student in that room, you kind of just want to like make fun of them. And,
shut up, please.
Yeah.
Get us out of here.
If Alice would just shut her damn mouth, we would all
So
be able
true.
But Alice has figured out she's there because she wants to be, needs to be, not just because it's the thing you're supposed to be doing.
Totally. Same experience, different mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
And Alice is probably getting more out of it than me in the back telling her, be quiet so I can get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoa, you're really interrupting my nap here, Alice.
Yeah. Yeah. Knowing how much you care, Alice.
Stupid Alice and caring. God, there's this party I was at last night that was rad.
Yeah. So
Alice
true.
wouldn't get it.
Yeah. Damn Alice.
Sorry, Alice, if you're listening.
What kind of camera work are you doing? Like,
Yeah. So it's kind of changed in the last 18 months. I kind of went through a pretty typical, what I would call come up phase, which in my freelance work was literally anything. My first paid gig as a freelance videographer outside of the coffee company work I was doing, first paid gig was the Battle in the Berg here in Roseburg.
Yeah?
That were like the local MMA fights.
Right.
They were just like brutal fights. And I'll never forget, I got blood on my lens and I was freaked out. I'm like Googling, like, does blood come off glass? Like how is it? Did I just ruin my camera? You know? And that was my first paid gig, and it was like, that kind of was how it was for the first 2 years. I just, anything that came my way.
Yeah.
And that turned into like weddings. It turned into, I made like a series on how to catch rats for a guy.
yeah?
Yeah, like anything that would, again,
Snuff films.
yeah,
Was that
anything
weird?
that would bring in money. It was just, and I just did a lot of weird stuff like that. But in the last 18 months, my if I were ever to, describe my dream gig with videos, it's never to make a movie, never to do short films or any of that. It would be to make something like a 30 for 30.
Yeah.
Sports and music are the two things that I just care most about, and I love telling stories behind the scenes of those people that you love and you watch and you care about. And so that's the dream. And in the last 18 months, I've been getting to like do some of that work, and it's been awesome.
How stoked are you about this this new series that the ESPN's putting out about the 90s era Bulls?
I'm well, one, when I first saw when it first dropped, I was so excited.
Yeah.
Now I'm irritated because it's past the date they said it would be, and they put out a new trailer for a new release date
In June.
in June.
So I missed the part that was supposed to, I just assumed it was coming out right then. I didn't know that they redid the dates on it. I was just like, why the hell are they advertising this thing that I want to see now for June? Like,
It's gonna be the greatest thing ever.
it's going to be so good. And the music that they've got in the ad is just like, yeah, it's badass.
Yeah. I mean, it's about the Bulls when they were just like the dynasty, and they've got a sit down interview with Jordan, which is like not common
Right.
at all, and it's gonna be awesome. That's probably the thing I'm most excited about for 2020 to watch. Like to watch is not any movies. It's gonna be that.
Right.
Yeah.
8-year-old me is excited.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That,
Quick question.
Yeah.
So when you guys like playing some b-ball with your friends at school or whatever, or your friend's house, did you
Then a couple
ever?
of guys.
they were up
Then-
to no good?
No good. Did they start making trouble?
Started making trouble
Oh,
in my
man.
neighborhood. Yeah, like did you ever like pick your favorite like basketball player
Yeah.
and play as them?
Yeah, I'm still Charles Barkley every time I play
Yeah,
basketball.
I was like I think I was Pippen. I was Drexler for a little bit. If Jordan wasn't already picked, right? Like
I perma-owned Jordan.
Yeah.
And I actually, no joke, I had to defend that title multiple times. Because they'd be like, I want to be Jordan. I'd be like, yo, beat me in one-on-one, you can have Jordan.
I mean,
When I was younger,
That's what Jordan would do.
Hey, I'm 6'1". I was this tall in 8th grade. So I owned the courts when I was younger.
Dunking on
I was like, "You
fools
want
left and
Jordan?
right."
Come at me for
in
it.
8th grade, they're like,
come
you
get
can't be
it.
Michael Jordan. You're Manute Bol,
Yeah.
you tall freak. Like a year
No, that's-
later, they were like, yeah, I don't know. You're a little bit too short to be in the NBA.
It's so true. By the time I got to high school, it was like, well, you have to be a point guard because you're really short.
See, I was this height in the 8th grade.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, yeah. So Charles Barkley was my favorite player. For those that don't know, he's only 6'4". So I'm like, all I have to do is be 6'4" and I can make it to the NBA. And so when I got to high school, they didn't say you have to be a point guard. They just said you're really slow. And yeah, I mean, you can still come out for the team.
Yeah.
So-
there is something really funny about what you just said because it's true. It was true for me too, which was all I got to do is be at least 6'5", and I can be the greatest shooting guard of all time.
Yeah.
Like it was all about height.
Yeah.
Even my dad was like, son, as long as you get to be at least 6'4", you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of other factors that go into being a good basketball player other than height. But that was my whole thing was like, as long as I keep growing,
Yeah.
it's a done deal.
so I got to know more than just being short to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
Probably.
There's some other criteria.
I got to know how to
that.
fly the spaceship. Okay.
I mean,
Right.
so you're filming some cool stuff. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we can dive into it if you want to. I mean, I've got some stuff there's just no way around it. Humble brag, have to just like name drop. It's just what it is, but I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those few times in my life where it's like I am so proud of something I'm working on that I don't mind just dropping it.
Let's jump. So Daniel is by nature an incredibly humble guy, and so I called his sister yesterday, or texted her, and I was like, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna interview your brother tomorrow, and he's not gonna want to talk about himself, so I need to know like what he needs to brag about." And she said that I had to ask you about what you did 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
what really cool thing did you do 2
Okay,
weeks ago?
so 2 weeks ago, that's a huge one, and it's funny because this guy's kind of in the news right now. But 2 weeks ago, I flew to Cleveland on a Friday and spent all day Saturday with Odell Beckham Jr. And
Oh shoot.
yeah, and we filmed. We're working on a project with him. First time I'd ever met him, and it went really well. But we only filmed for like 20 minutes, and we knew that going in. It was me and my buddy who was he's kind of like my manager, I would call it. He helps me like land this stuff, and it was really funny because the whole way over, again, it's like 7 to 8 hours worth of travel to get there, and like we're gonna have about 20 minutes with him. And I've worked with enough like high level, high profile people to know that that's usually the truth. Like you're not going to get any more than they've allocated, maybe less.
What was like the constraint?
What's
Is
that?
it, they're like constraints specifically. For
What, like why only 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Because he had other stuff he wanted to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Because there was 8 other camera crews that had 20 minutes lined up with him.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And so this was a project for a supplement company that he's starting, and it was to kind of create a short docu series vibe video, kind of talking about why does it exist. And anyway, we get over there. I'm like 20 minutes. I got 20 minutes. I have one light. I've got 2 cameras, and I have no idea where we're going. And we get to his house. We were going to his house now, I find out. And we get there, and I'm expecting what I'm used to in the high-profile world, which is like 4 like manager, PR, like all these people, all this stuff, all these things, a posse of people around him, like all these things. There's one car in the driveway. It's him and like a few friends.
Wow.
And the first thing he says to us is, it was the day of the Niners game or AFC and an NFC championship. He goes, "Yo, y'all want to watch football for a while before we do this?" And it was funny because like we looked at him and we were both like, "Oh yeah, for sure." And he's like, "Cool." And he turned around and started to walk away, and we looked at each other and we were like, like geeked out so hard, right?
Yeah.
We're like, we're gonna go watch football with Odell Beckham Jr. Like it was just one of those sentences. There was like, what's going on? So anyway, so we're hanging out, super chill, nice guy, and then he's like, "All right, man, like let's go do this." And we film for 20 minutes, knock it out. He's like, one take wonder, we're finished. And so I'm packing up and I'm like, wow, what a time. That was a crazy experience. We're flying out at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, like wild. And he's like, y'all trying to kick it and hang? Like, you should stay. We got food, we got drinks. Like, let's watch more football. And
Nice.
stayed at his house till like midnight.
Whoa.
And just kicked it.
That's so great.
And he's a cool dude. And we talked more and more. And while we were there, one thing that I do that most people don't is I make sure that I'm like editing really fast. Like, I want things to be done really quick. And so I already had a rough cut of the video at his house, and I showed it to him. And now we're talking about, I can't really talk about it, but we're talking about another project that is going to be way more intimate, way more hands-on, and it would require like a lot more hangout sessions.
Very cool.
It's cool, man. Like, we're developing this relationship, and it's great.
Pretty soon you'll be the guy that he gets to go get $100 bills that he can pass out at
That's
the
right. That's
national
right.
championship games.
That happened the day after we hung out with him.
Are you serious?
Or I guess the second day after that. Yeah.
This is where you should tell the world that that those were edited dollar bills.
He's
and,
misunderstood, man. No.
Yeah, he just,
Yeah. No, but like, it's, obviously I've been a fan of his for a while, but it wasn't even so much. It wasn't that I was just geeking out that he was a really talented athlete or anything. It was that this project was what I've been saying forever, that is like my dream, like a docu-series about an athlete and something he's doing. And it was just one of those moments where I'm like, holy smokes, this is the thing. This is the thing I've been trying to do forever. And so I've been doing that. I've got some stuff going on right now with Nike and with Jordan. I can't talk about a couple of them, but the ones I have been doing is with their internal team, which is really great, because then I get to know the marketing team, which then the relationship is everything.
Right.
And then that's what goes to the next thing. So I'm doing work for these companies that I've looked up to my whole life.
That's so great.
So that's the last 18 months, and that's the stuff that's like, it's why I'm so quiet on social now. I can't share anything anymore that I worked on, which is a good thing. But yeah, I mean, again, like you said, I don't usually like to talk about that stuff, but this is one of those times where I got to get better at celebrating wins when I get them, because I usually don't. I just try to move on to the next thing, and I'm like, I gotta celebrate this one.
Build
It's
some
okay
hype, man.
with my friends and with people that that know what I've done through my life. Like, it's okay to be like, I'm stoked on this one. This is really cool.
Yeah.
So anyway,
of all of the the basketball players that grew up in our area, you're probably the only one that's collecting checks from Nike. So
fair enough.
So good job.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing I'm doing one in February for their sneaker ball, and it's this event they do where everyone dresses up in tuxedos and gowns and then wears their flashiest pair of sneaks.
Oh my
and
gosh.
They have a musical performance and some other stuff, and I'm gonna kind of make a video recap of that event. So.
If you need an intern for that, my 13-year-old son Colby, who's a sneakerhead, would be. Yeah,
Is he?
Oh my gosh! Dude.
What size shoes is he wearing?
He's a 10 and a half, and he's
My gosh.
He works for his grandma.
Yeah.
And at a restaurant, and spends every dime that he makes on shoes.
Wow.
It's amazing. His shoe collection is. I'm envious.
I love that.
So
I'm the same way. I love shoes, and the thing is like I'll have to remember his shoe size. If I can cop a pair, I will.
oh my gosh, his mind would blow up.
But
Isn't that the actual like model size, like the showroom floor size?
I think it's
9.5.
9.5.
I say
think
that. Source worked at Foot Locker in high school.
I worked at Lady Foot Locker when I moved to LA. It was a
Nice.
great experience.
Oh, such the best, dude.
The most common thing that happened to Lady Foot Locker, and this is just there's no stereo. It's just the truth. In LA, at the Lady Foot Locker, women would come up and ask for a size 6, and I'd be like, look at the feet and be like, go in the back, and I'd come out and be like, brought you the 6, brought you a 9 too, just try it. Whichever one you think fits better, you let me know. But like it was nonstop,
Yeah.
just like 3 sizes under, just shove the feet in there.
Oh my God.
And it was one of those things where I'm like, man, like I don't get that at all. Anyway,
So I used to coach basketball, like college basketball. It was women's college basketball, and so we had a girl that played for us that was 6'5", and she refused to let us list her. Most basketball players always list themselves at least minimum the height that they are in their shoes, if not a half inch or an inch taller than that.
Yeah.
So she refused to let us list her at her true height because 6'5" was too tall, and so we had to list her at 6'4". But it was the same thing with her shoes. I remember like getting her team shoes and just being like, that can't be comfortable. And
Yeah.
it's like, no, because I don't wear whatever it was. Like I don't wear an 11.
Yeah.
I wear a 10. You know, 10's more, you know. I felt so bad because
Right.
you know, I remember growing up like I thought I wore a size 13. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm getting big. I'm gonna be 6'5" or whatever it was.
Right.
And I really didn't. I never wore 13. I was a 12. So
Yeah. You know, and it's funny. We have a mutual friend, I'll leave his name out, who always wore a 13. And I was always like, yo, that does not match the foot and the size of I don't get it.
Yeah.
And then one time we went on a trip together and we all bought Toms. And we were getting sized up. And Toms aren't the kind of shoe where you can like have space. They
Yeah,
got to
you
fit
don't
your
want
foot.
to go sloppy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll never forget, she brought the 13 out. He put it on and it was like, you don't have a big toe. Like, why is there so much on the end there? And he was like a 9.
Are you serious?
And I was like, yo, I know brand sizing shifts a little bit. It doesn't go 4 sizes up or down though. And I'm like, why you be wearing shoes that big? And just one of those things, like just something. I think it was like an overcompensation of something, or I don't know
That's
what
so
it was.
funny.
Got these
But-
small feet, man.
But 9 was a very appropriate size for his height. It didn't look out of proportion.
Yeah.
The 13 did. Clown feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, side note on shoes, by the way, with Odell, great guy. He was giving us a tour of the house and took us into his closet is not the right word.
His shoe
Small
cave.
small warehouse
Right.
in the basement. Huge, just massive room full of clothes and shoes. And he looked at my feet and he goes, "What are you, a 12?" I go, "Yeah." And he just pulled a pair of his shoes off of his rack and gave them to me.
Oh my gosh.
And then gave me a cleat of his, and then he signed it for me. And I was like, dude, this is so cool. My brother-in-law is a huge fan. Like, I think I'm gonna give this to him. He goes, oh no, hold up, I got you. And he grabbed another one and signed that one for him. And I was so excited, right?
You're
I'm
not
like, this
freaking
is.
out in that moment, dude.
I don't think I held it together well. I was trying to be I didn't want to be a fanboy. I'm like, I want to have a relationship with this
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
And I'm like, so I'm trying not to fanboy, but I know I was a little bit. Yeah. and then the whole time I'm just like so grateful, right? And then in my mind I'm going, because it was a quick trip, right? So I had my backpack with my camera gear. I had a carry-on with lights in it. I'm like, where am I going to put these shoes? And I had to like strap them around my backpack. I had nowhere to put them. I had nowhere to fit it. And like, I was going to go buy a bag just to check it. Cause I'm
Right.
like, I don't know how I'm going to get it home. But
Wear
anyway.
these cleats through the airport.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm just going to, I guess, walk through with cleats on. I don't know. But anyway, super cool guy. I was like, now I got a pair of his shoes at my house. It's really cool.
That's so great. I mean, I don't run into near as many famous people as you do, but the times that you do, when they're normal or when they're friendly, it's so great because, I mean, you always hear like never meet your idols because, you know, if you're disappointed, whatever. But when they exceed expectations, it's so great, man. And Odell especially, you know, the poor guy takes so much heat in the press
Yeah.
for everything, you know, and he's obviously a pretty excited guy about a lot of things.
Right.
You know, he's a high level athlete and that's pretty normal, I think.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's really cool when you hear the human side because he didn't need to do that. Like
No, not
he
at
owed
all.
you 20 minutes and
Yeah.
you got to spend a whole day with him that, you know,
I mean, I was just camera guy,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. Like that's how I assumed I'd be interpreted, was like another guy with a camera because
Right.
he's used to that pretty much. But he was super cool, really accommodating.
really cool.
Yeah, I have two encounters with two different celebrities. One that made me love him, and one that made me hate him. And it's wild because so Robert Downey Jr. I made him coffee in L.A. when I worked down there, and I worked at a coffee shop. And you're not allowed because it was in a place where a lot of people would come through, and so you're like not allowed to be like fanboy at all.
Right.
You can't say anything. You're not even supposed to acknowledge their celebrity. But at the time, Iron Man had just come out, and Sherlock Holmes was like about to come out.
I love Sherlock Holmes.
Me too. It's so good. And I couldn't help myself. I'm in my mind, I was like, I'll get fired for this. It's okay.
Yeah, it's
like
worth it.
it's worth it, you know, at that time. And so I just told him, I said, hey, sorry, I don't want to like be a bother, but I'm just a huge fan of yours. I've been watching you since like Weird Science back in the 80s.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
It's a fantastic movie. And I was like, Iron Man was just phenomenal, and I can't wait for Sherlock Holmes. And I was expecting a nod, like just anything, maybe even like leave me alone. And he put his coffee down and talked to me for like 20 minutes.
Wow.
Asked me questions about the first thing he said was, "You're not from California, are you?" And I said, "No, I'm from Oregon." He goes, "Oregon? I've been there. Ashland." And I go, "Oh." And he's like, "I did some stuff in Ashland." And he alluded to like he had a good time in Ashland.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, okay.
yeah.
But he was asking about me. He was asking about what I was into. And at the end of the conversation was like, "Hey, Daniel's really nice talking to you, you know, blah, blah, blah." And he went and sat down, had his meeting and his coffee. And then the paparazzi found him and they were just like hounding him with photos, you know? So he kind of got up in a hurry, threw his coffee away, ran around the corner. And I was like, "Oh, see you, RDJ, like later."
Yeah, right.
And he comes back around up to the window where the coffee shop was. He goes, "Hey, Daniel, one more time. Just lovely to meet you, man. Appreciate
Wow.
you." Shook my hand and then left. And I'm
Unreal.
like, forever fan. He
Yeah.
can't make a mistake,
Right.
in my mind. He's so awesome. On the other hand, I was at the VMAs and Lil Wayne was one of the performing artists. And where I was like side stage. And we got to see all the artists like while they're waiting to go perform. And everybody, Bruno Mars, Beyonce, everybody was cool.
That was a big night for
Shaking-
Beyonce, as I recall.
She debuted,
Yeah,
yeah,
yep.
the baby, yeah. Everybody was cool. Lil Wayne comes out. There's a girl next to me. She's like, "Lil Wayne, like I'm your biggest fan. I love you." And his bodyguard turns and goes, "Shut up. Lil Wayne requires silence before a performance." And everybody looked and we were all like, she was heartbroken, but I was like, "What was that? What are you kidding?" And then his performance was trash. And I used to actually like him. And ever since then, now everything he puts out, I'm like, garbage.
You're like,
don't care anymore.
Lil Wayne requires silence. Lil Wayne's tripping balls right now. He doesn't know what
doesn't
this girl
care.
just said.
Yeah, but it was
which
just
one,
wild.
Which one was Lil Wayne again?
He was the guy who
He's
was
the
on
little guy with the
literally
dreads.
every single thing that came out between like 2005 and
Bling
Yeah,
bling.
that guy.
no, that's
Lollipop.
Lil Jon.
Lil Jon.
Lollipop.
Oh.
Yeah, he was the dude that was.
I used to love him.
Lil Wayne's
Yeah.
like the one that's like, he kind of talks like that.
That's
you know?
exactly what he sounds like. For those of you that aren't in the rap game,
Yeah, I used to love him. But anyway, like you said, you don't have to be that way.
No.
It would have taken minimal effort to go, "Thank you," and go back to preparing.
Let's sidebar for 1 second. You were at the VMAs, and the reason for that was because, well, you should tell the story, but I think this is super funny. I remember you telling me this at work, and I'm just like, that Daniel, man, he gets himself into the coolest situations. So how
I
did
forgot. I had to ask you for permission to take the day off to drive to LA to go be in the VMAs on-screen audience. And the reason I was casted as an on-screen cast member, they were looking for not white, not black, brown, but not Hispanic people.
Ding, 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 ding.
And I'm like, I mean, I was
the
born
only place
for
in
this.
the world where that is legal to
li-
ask.
Yeah, I was like, this is literally, and I had to give them a link to my MySpace page, and they had to like look at my pictures.
MySpace?
MySpace.
Nice.
And I just remember being like, I'm definitely gonna get it. And my wife, who's
Also fits that bill.
Korean but fits the bill of just kind of like non-descriptive brown. We both put our names in, and we put our names in, and I got it and she didn't, and she was a little bummed about that. But so I got to be an on-screen cast member. And I only reason I knew about it was because when we lived in LA before we came back, we signed up for all these websites to get tickets to like late night shows and like to be on camera audience member, because they're free. You just have to get notified and try to get a ticket. But this one was one you had to be cast for. So yeah, I just was the right skin tone.
That's awesome. Your
Yeah.
Pantones matched.
Yeah, yeah. Which was really funny because then when I got there, I'm like, it was just a giant sea of like me, like other people. I'm like, you're definitely not Hispanic. You're definitely not black or white. What are we? What are all of us here? Because like we don't know.
Right.
It's just a weird melting pot of people. It's great.
Is there a reason why they were like, no whites, no?
That is it's a demographic of like, it doesn't, because if you have a bunch of white people and then a black person, or the vice versa, a bunch of black, it looks weirdly contrasty on camera. Because the on screen means like when they're performing, you're gonna be in the shot.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna be as part of the audience on stage.
Yeah.
And my assumption is it just makes us blend into the audience versus standing
A
out.
lot more simple than just saying, make sure you come with a bitch and tan.
Right. Totally.
We don't want you to be too tan. We don't want
Yeah.
you to be, white.
Yeah, it's one of the weirdest experiences of my life. We couldn't eat for 12 hours. They didn't say don't eat, but they made us arrive super early and gave us no food. And we just stood outside in the blazing heat all day long.
Oh my God.
And just waited. And then they judged you. There was 2 people standing there with one person with like a clipboard, another person with like an envelope with colored like one was green, orange, and blue, and they had numbers on them. And I gathered quickly that green meant pretty, and orange meant maybe the second or third row. And I
What color were you?
And I literally, this is so bad, it's just the truth. I look ahead of me. I'm like 50 people deep. I look ahead of me and I'm like, I'm definitely better looking than most of the dudes in line. There's like a lot of pretty girls, but I'm like, they gotta have some guys in the front row. I think I'm all right with like the rest of the dudes in front of me. And it was really funny because for me, we get up there, the lady looks at me, it's a lady with a clipboard, guy with the envelope. She looks at me, whispers something. The guy reaches in, I see he's got an orange, and I'm like, dang it, dude. Dang it, man.
I'm a green man.
And then some other person with a headset comes up behind him and whispers something else, and he puts the orange back and grabs a green.
Ooh.
And I'm like, I bet it was like, I've scoured the audience. This is as good as it's gonna get.
It's not getting any better behind him.
It's not getting any better.
We're just gonna end up moving him into the green
Yeah.
section later.
I'm certain that's what happened. But it meant I got to be in the front row, which was great. It was
Nice.
super cool.
And then you got to be right there to comfort Beyonce as she was nervous to go on stage.
That's an embarrassing story that is, I looked at Beyonce and I said, she looked nervous. I didn't know she was going to announce that she was pregnant, but she looked nervous, and I thought for some reason I could help out. And I looked at her, I turned and she made eye contact. I stared hard enough that she had to look back at me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
You can make someone look at you by staring hard enough. And I did that, and she turned and looked at me, and she couldn't hear me, so I just mouthed it, and I went, "You're going to do great." And I gave her a thumbs up, and I just think back to that now of like, she didn't care that I said that. Like, that had no impact at all. But I remember thinking, like, I'm going to give her the confidence to go out there and perform with the VMAs. She's just, Queen Bee,
your
biggest
part,
star on
man.
the planet.
You're just there to help out. You're just excited to be there.
And that's
Yeah.
and that's why everybody loves you, man. Because you are nice enough to be.
Even give Beyonce
Yeah.
a push of encouragement.
You know what? This poor girl. She's gone through enough trials and tribulations. It's about time somebody is nice to Beyonce. Oh, that's
so funny.
awesome.
Gosh, what a time.
I thought when you were talking about the colors that they were like the cards they were holding up, that potentially they were actually just going through like shades of tan.
Oh my
And they were
gosh.
like, you've got to fall in between these two. Just
They're just
holding-
measuring, do you fit in between these two colors?
Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
We're getting so great.
we're gonna.
We're looking for an 8 and you're a 9.
That's
You were
so
clearly
funny.
a little too.
I've got to think in 2020 they can't do that anymore. I feel like it's got to be a little more like, they got to be more vague about it.
Right.
They can't say not Hispanic.
Not
anymore.
Hispanic. Yeah,
They can't do that.
Like, wait a
There's
minute.
no way.
Also, if I really want to go, like if I'm Hispanic, I'm probably like, no, man, I'm clearly Asian.
Yeah, yeah. Don't judge me.
Hawaiian, man.
Listen, white person, you don't know what the hell you're talking about anyway.
Yeah, which I'll do something right now that I actually hate in movies, but I'll name drop the name of your podcast. That's a good moment in my life when I was like, "What the f am I doing?"
Yeah.
I was literally standing amongst all my favorite celebrities on stage, watching them wearing fake nerd glasses and a bow tie. Oh man, just dressed like an imbecile and like standing there. But I'm just like, how did I get here? Like, what's going on? How am I here right now? It was a weird moment for sure.
That's so great. Little
Yeah.
did you know that was preparing you to go be a great person in your basically interview with Odell later.
That's
on.
right. But hey, you know Beyonce too, right? Me too.
Yeah.
Same. I encouraged her for the VMAs in 2011.
really needs encouragement, and I was there to give it to her. That's
right.
And she appreciated it.
That's
very
right.
much.
Wilted
She
on
might
that
not
stage
remember.
without me.
I think I encouraged her to do the announcement. She wasn't going to do that
Yeah.
until I gave her the thumbs up.
She was really just going to go out
She
there and be
did it
like,
because
"Oh,
of that. Yeah.
I had a big burrito
Oh,
at
man.
lunch."
How'd we get there? That's so funny.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for coming on the pod.
Yeah, yeah. Great stories.
We had other questions.
Yeah. Let's dive in.
So let's. You've done camera work. Do you think you'll get into like 30 for 30 type stuff? Is that something you're really gonna
Specifically 30 for 30
not-
or just that type of
Well,
stuff?
actually, did you hear that the Ringer? So who basically started 30 for 30. They've just announced a 30 for 30 style documentary series that they're coming out with based on music.
Really?
Yeah, so that could be cool.
Okay. No.
So I'm gonna need you to get in on that so that I can come just follow along. And
Yeah. I mean, that music is the other big world that through, funny enough, through the connections I made through coffee company stuff has led me to be able to make things for artists that I also love, which I think that world to me seems more ripe for documentary stuff. Right now, there's kind of this common, like, very much like a Katy Perry or a Bieber documentary that's pretty heavily produced and a pretty big production. And then there's like tour vlogs where a band goes on tour and they vlog their tour. Like, there's something in between there. There's something to be done in the middle of that where it's like a docuseries. And honestly, the new Justin Bieber docuseries coming out, I think is probably on par with what I want to do.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I've just seen the trailer. I don't think it's out yet. But something like that, like a YouTube docuseries that follows and is kind of more of a cinematic storytelling of an artist's journey than a vlog or a full-blown documentary. That's where I want to live.
So you need to find an artist that has got really, really big, probably done some things that he shouldn't have done, and then blame it on some like random outlying disease that he's picked up, and then the redemption, and then you're gonna do the redemption video.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would be awesome.
So
Looking for that guy or that girl making that mistake right now.
You need to find that person who's ruining their life and then gonna blame it on like hypoglycemia.
Hypoglycemia.
And then
That's so funny.
here comes the third act.
Yeah,
Boom.
redemption.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, it's there's got to be someone out there on the come up right now about to make that mistake that I'm ready to meet.
Let's
at the right
figure
time.
this person out right now. We'll start calling them.
Hey, so you're about ready to make this mistake. I'm a guy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I feel like you've got a redemption in your future, and I want to be there to capture it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got some questionable facial tattoos recently.
Ooh, I know the guy.
Who?
Yeah.
Aaron Carter.
Aaron Carter.
Dude, that's the guy.
He's ready for a redemption.
There's no
Have you been
redeeming
reading
that
his
guy.
tweets lately? I know we talked about social media and stuff. You haven't been doing like a lot of social media, but like his tweets lately, holy smokes, that guy is like,
Is he on one right now?
yeah.
Dang.
He's hypoglycemic hard right now.
Oh, dang it. You know what? I just want him to go back to the days where he beat Shaq.
Right?
That's what I want. I want that Aaron Carter back.
What wasn't Shaq in the music video for that?
Yeah.
Shaq has been in every music video.
Shaq's such a humble
'Cause he's
guy.
the-
He just let
great.
this
the
little
hyper-
guy
the
beat him.
basketball sniper.
He's so great. He let him make a song about him.
Right?
About some little kid beating him one-on-one.
Yeah,
Do you,
it's fantastic.
So do you remember? Are you old enough to remember when Shaq was coming out of LSU?
Yeah.
So do you remember the rap group that he was super into at the time, Fushnikins?
No.
So
Fushnikins?
yeah. So Shaq. What? Shaq was super into this group called Fushnikins, and at this point, nobody, and by nobody I mean white kids from small towns on the West Coast, hadn't heard of this band Fushnikins, but he was so into them, and he was the biggest thing in the world at the time that that then all of a sudden they got really, really famous, but they didn't have any hits. So he was on the only album that any of them had, or that anyone remembers, he was on like their most popular song, and I think it was called "What's Up, Doc? Can We Rock?"
Wow.
Yeah, and then he has a verse on there.
Shaq has a couple of really good tracks.
Supercalifragilistic
good.
Shaq-is-Alidocious.
Yeah.
Who says that?
When he went from the Lakers, or from the Lakers to the Heat,
Yeah.
and he made a song about that. I think it's called
Was it the Kobe diss track?
No, but that's a good one. Kobe Bryant's song is also good with Tyra Banks. That's a funny song.
I'm more of like a Kazam guy.
Dude.
Kazam, yeah.
I'm more
Dude,
of like
Kazam.
that like era of Shaq.
Yeah.
Rap or
Okay,
whatever.
sorry. I got to derail really quickly. Have you guys talked about, thought about, heard about the movie Shazam with Sinbad?
Oh, like old movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not a movie.
No?
Never been made.
What?
Dude, it's called what's it called? There's a name for it, but it's a thing that most of the world can agree on is a thing, but it's not. A genie movie called Shazam with Sinbad.
Sinbad.
Pretty sure I've watched it as a child.
Yeah.
It's never been made.
I would have bet money on that.
Dude, same. I can see the cover.
Wasn't he a genie in some movie though?
No.
He wasn't?
No. And here's the thing is,
Dude, you're doing it to me right now.
Dude,
I feel like
okay.
I've watched this movie.
Go and Google it and just look it up. You'll see that like, and he actually, it got so bad last year or 2 years ago that Sinbad tweeted and he was like, I'll make the movie. But like,
I'm not doing anything else.
yeah, he's like, I'll make it, but it's not a movie. But anyone who's around my age is like, oh yeah, Shazam with Sinbad.
Yeah,
Totally.
totally.
And
I
it's
can hear him
not
saying,
a freaking
I am
movie.
Shazam. I can hear that in my head, but that's a Kazam thing. So
Yeah, and most people go, "Oh, do you mean Kazam with Shaq?" I'm like, trust me, I was very obsessed with both Sinbad and Shaq and their library of work that I know the difference.
Yep.
And I thought that Kazam was kind of a ripoff of Shazam. Growing up, that was where my brain went. But anyway, there's no film called Shazam with Sinbad in it.
Sinbad taught me a very important lesson growing up, which was if you're ever late going home, don't be 5 minutes late because you're going to get in the same amount of trouble whether you're 5 minutes late or 5 hours late.
Wait, what? Why? Wait, what's
He had
the
this
reference?
stand-up bit about
is that okay?
about
okay.
like, you know, basically getting in trouble with your parents. He's like, when I was a kid, I would go home and my mom would say I have to be home by, you know, whatever, 10, and it would be 10:05 and I'd be pulling in the parking lot. I knew I was going to get, you know, my butt whipped when I got home. And so he's like, one day I was just like, well, I'm already going to get my butt whipped. I might as well just stay out till midnight. And so then he's like, came in at midnight. I got the same beating I would have got at 10:05.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I went to bed.
That's a good lesson.
Yeah. I mean, I was never brave enough to utilize that lesson, but I
you
learned
knew
it.
it.
the real strat is to be the second son.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once you know parents are over your older brother, like you know doing the thing and like he's so exhausting, he never comes home at the right time or whatever. Then when it's your turn and you're the guy that's out late, they're just like, he's fine.
Yeah.
that's how I did.
We were worked up for nothing. Just let him stay out.
Yeah,
I was an only child. That never happened. I was in college, still living at home with my parents, having to come home and wake my mom up to tell her I was home.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
man.
I mean, I basically had to leave home to, like, it's worth paying rent to not have to do that, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, so what? You got to go hang out with OBJ. Mm-hmm. You're getting ready to make the Aaron Carter documentary. What other places has your camera taken you?
One area that is not necessarily like, I mean, it's kind of glamorous, I guess, but it's not so much of like a thing you talk about a lot, but that really is cool is I put my work out to places I want to travel.
Yeah.
To travel agencies or to like hotels or even like in Hawaii, in Kauai, there's this boat tour on the Pauly Coast you can take.
Yeah.
And I'll just hit people up and be like, hey, like I'd be happy to make you a video, and I just come up with whatever it would cost to take my family there for like a week, and then just do it.
That's brilliant.
And just pay for vacations. And it's like stuff that I would do anyway. Like if I was on a Pauly Coast boat tour, you better believe I'm filming the whole time I'm there anyway.
Right.
Like that's like the best place to do it. And so I just use it to travel everywhere. And like that lets me go to places like, you know, Hawaii is where we go a lot. I have family there. But then we spend a lot of time in Southern California. We're big Disneyland fans. And we just find ways to position myself to make a quick video. My wife thinks of our trips in terms of how many videos would that cost? Like
That's so great.
There's no not even a dollar value. It's like
New currency.
It's like oh, like we can definitely go to Europe. It's like 2 videos. Yeah. I'm like, you realize, yeah, okay, but I got to make those 2 videos, you know. But yeah, so like we've used it to go on pretty much every vacation we go on.
I remember I heard an interview with Paul McCartney one time where he was talking about him and John Lennon's writing process, and he said that they would sit down and say something to each other like, hey, let's write ourselves a swimming pool.
So real.
Yeah.
I mean, why not use your tool? Because it's like I can trade it. A lot of times it's like, hey, pay for this and I'll give you this. And I don't want to make profit here. I just want you to pay for my vacation.
Yeah.
Which to them is actually cheaper a lot of times. Because the other thing for me, I think the sweet spot that I find myself in is that people can hire me alone. Like I come in with just myself. So the overhead is very minimal. So I can charge a little less and still deliver a pretty high quality product, which gives me more wiggle room to do more things. Whereas if you go through production houses or you get with bigger budgets and everything else, you kind of lose that flexibility to be really lean that way.
Right.
Then you don't have to deal with the union.
Yeah, none of that. It's just like, I'll bring my camera and I'll see you there. And so that's been probably one of the cooler parts is that my wife and we love to travel, and letting it do that for us is awesome.
Man, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So, small commercial break. We've got a new segment that we're doing on What the F Am I Doing, where you can get a hold of us, pay us money, and we will say something nice about you. So this is a new segment called Our Friend Paid Us Money to Say Something Nice About Him. And here goes. Today, we're going to talk about my good friend, Thomas Herrera. We can just train the camera on this one here. Camera 2.
Best segment of all time.
Thomas Herrera is one hell of a guy.
It's true.
Let me tell you about my guy, Thomas. Thomas wanted us to tell the world that he has a super rad wife that he's madly in love with. He also has 2 super cool kids. They're twins, so you know he's a Superman dad. He also wants the world to know that his dad is from Mexico, and he's a badass. I've met him. Can confirm he's a badass. Last time I saw him, we were over at Thomas's, and he was fixing Thomas's toilet. So he is a certified badass. Thomas has a job that he would prefer that we don't mention, but rest assured, many would kill to do his job.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's super fun. Has all kinds of fun perks. He's very good at that job too. Thomas is the kind of guy that you can call at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, and he will get out of bed, come into your restaurant, help you clear out all of the kegs of beer in your walk-in cooler because the refrigerator has broke. Take that to his work where they have a giant walk-in refrigerator, and store it. Use his own truck to do that. He'll bitch about it the entire time, but he will do that because he is that kind of friend. He's a great guy. Let's see. I think that if you are lucky enough to know someone like Thomas Herrera in your life, you're a lucky human being. I am lucky enough to know him.
I haven't had the pleasure yet.
Yeah, but you're still getting paid to say nice things about him. So would you like to say anything nice about him?
I think he's a man of men, and his library smells of leather-bound books and rich mahogany.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so that has been our segment. A guy paid us money to say nice things about him. So thank you, Thomas, for being our first member of the segment.
Thomas. Thank you. Cha-ching.
All right, now we're gonna ask Daniel some questions.
If you had to pick a superpower, what would it be?
Good question.
I mean, it's basic, but it's the best one, which is fly.
Yeah,
Without a doubt.
if you could fly, like I'm really afraid of heights, but if I could fly, I'm not sure. Would I be afraid of heights? Would you be afraid of heights?
No, because
You wouldn't fall.
There's
You
no
wouldn't
fear of falling anywhere.
God, that'd be so great.
Just being able to zip through the skies, do whatever I want. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
It's a good one. Biggest irrational fear.
Rats.
Oh, that's a good one.
Rats. Rats. My wife has to deal with rodent problems. I won't do it. I won't even look or mess with a dead one.
Even
Can't do
after
it.
making that video for the guy how to kill rats.
I was trying to overcome a fear, and I didn't know he was going to bring real rats to the shoot, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I'm not playing.
It was your own personal fear
I will
factor.
like mouth to mouth with a snake before
Yeah?
I even have to look at a dead rat.
You know that show Fear Factor that Joe Rogan did where they would pour rats over people or whatever? That would be the one where I would be out. Or snakes. But
Out.
you know that they probably question those people beforehand. And they're like, what are you most scared of? I would be playing up something stupid like spiders or
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because, I mean, there's a difference between, like, oh, I'm so scared, get me out of here, and, like, what I would do. I would, like, all limbs would break the glass. I would cause, like, a major issue. I'd be ripping cameras off. I would...
Yeah.
It's not the same.
There would be snot.
When you have that kind of fear, it's, like, not a cute thing. You'd be like, wow, that was traumatizing and not cool to do to a person.
Yeah. Beyonce would be off in the corner going, it's okay.
It's okay. It'll be all right.
You're gonna do
it's
great.
just a rodent. He's scared. What I always hear, they're more scared of you than you are of it. I'm like, not true.
Bullshit.
Not true
I'm not
at
going to
all.
bite them.
Yeah.
All right. First concert.
Yellow Card.
Yellow Card?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where did
That
you see
band was
Yellow
a
Card?
pile in Portland.
Yeah?
I forget the venue, but that band, they were lame.
The punk band with a violin.
Yeah.
Was it Roseland?
Maybe.
Did they play
It might
Ocean
have been
Avenue
Roseland.
last?
What's that?
Did they play Ocean Avenue last? Was that the encore song?
We left before it ended.
They were that good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I heard my favorite song, which was Breathe.
Yeah.
And the dude jumped off a speaker while playing violin. I'm like,
that
I
was
got
the coolest.
I got what I needed.
Yep.
where it was the horseshoe balcony, small little venue. You had to like walk upstairs to get to it.
Yeah,
That's Roseland.
that was Roseland. Yeah, okay.
I saw Linkin Park there.
You
That was
did?
my first concert. Linkin Park.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yellow
Nice.
card.
If you had a favorite candy, what is it?
If I had a favorite candy?
If I had it.
I
this
do
guy.
have a favorite
Yes,
candy.
you do. All right.
And the favorite candy is, you know those almond roca? They're in a pink box.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can get them at Costco, I think.
Yeah.
Almond roca, whatever that.
Yeah. I think it's just called almond roca, right?
I think maybe, yeah.
So, yeah.
And then they branched out. They've made mocha roca and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. That
Yeah,
just,
those. Those are unreal.
Yeah.
Those are one of those candies where I'm like, yeah, if I'm going to open this box up, I'm going to definitely eat them till I'm sick.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
committing before I open the box, like that's the plan.
Yeah.
Eat till I feel sick.
I'm glad I don't feel that way about any alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to go hard no matter what.
Like if I felt the way
All in.
if I felt about beer the same way that I feel about Oreo cookies, I'll always be passed out drunk on the floor from time to time.
yeah.
Very
Yeah.
quickly. just knocking them out. What odd thing are you elite at?
Well, right now in my current life, what am I?
We're pretty good at 2K.
I was good at 2K.
Yeah.
NBA 2K, I was ranked nationally for a while, like top 50, which was cool.
Right?
Man, what odd thing am I elite at? That's probably the weirdest thing I got.
Yeah?
Is I just got really good at a basketball video game.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
But that was before there's a new level of NBA 2K gamer that 2K9, it was a different time. The gaming wasn't where it is now. So I wouldn't even be able to be, I couldn't even compete anymore.
I've been playing 2K with my sons, and they're I've been out of the video game world for a while. I was never good at it to begin with, so I'm on YouTube like looking up how to do moves, and it's crazy ridiculous the stuff you can do on there. And the videos on that, I'm just like, God, I'm all right. I give up. I can't be this
That's
good.
awesome. Wait, I have another one.
Okay.
Driving in reverse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really confident at it.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
Do you do the arm over the seat?
yeah,
Yeah.
arm over the seat, and
That's
it's
the
like,
trick.
it's this. I'm just no stopping. I'm going. A lot of times, like we'll go up to the mountain and like a logging gate will be closed, and my wife's like, "What are we gonna do?" I'm like, "Watch this." And I look for those moments so I can drive backwards. And so I just want to be able to do
What
that.
are we gonna do? The same thing that I've been planning on doing since I figured out this
What are
trip.
we gonna do? We're gonna put yellow card on. I'm getting us out of here. Like, that's what we're doing.
We're going backwards, we're going sideways, we're sliding, and we're out.
At the coffee stand one time, I had a guy get in line backwards and went through the entire line, backing up one car at a time till he got to the front. And we were the whole time just like, we got to hurry up and get to this guy. Like, why is he going backwards? And then we got up and he was too scared to like order, so he had his wife do it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Sean. Last question.
Last question. Okay. If you were cruising down the road, and you're jamming out to music, okay, and you're 6'4", and you have to choose a volume. The volume is either 5, 8, 9, or 10. What do you choose?
5, 8, 9, or 10?
Mhm.
10.
10?
Yeah.
For what reason?
Who's listening to music in a car driving less than 10? Why?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm alone, for sure. If I got people in the car, unless because it's like 10 or 0. Like if I'm having a convo, the music's a non-factor. But if we're listening to tunes, blast it.
Now, when you are backing up at a high rate of speed, do you turn the music down so you can drive better?
No. I don't do that thing where it's like, let me turn it down so I can see better.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
No.
I'm like, I focus in harder when I got the tunes blasting. You know, and my wife has this thing about volume that it cannot be an odd number. Unless it's a multiple of 5. If it's a multiple of 5.
Yes.
So
She
things
listens
like
to-
things like 13,
You're married to
17, these are
Sean
off
Marvin.
the table.
Bless her heart.
Oh my
But,
gosh. Apparently her amps don't go up to 11.
Yeah, but we have to. She doesn't like it like full tilt like that. But the way I can work it in to make it loud is I'll turn it like all the way up to say 23, and she's like, "Oh, come on!" And that's a little bit louder than I would want. She'll turn it down to 20, which is where I really want it.
Right.
It's a win-win.
So I make sure I just get to
Yeah.
an odd number, a little bit above what I want, and then she gets
Dude,
there.
it's a weird question, but like it's funny because you get different answers every time. Like
I feel like
it's
that
weird.
question is probably a good indicator of like the disc assessment and like those TTI things where you can like personality test. I feel like someone who would say 7 is probably a very even keeled, balanced person who probably doesn't take a lot of risk, but also doesn't feel a lot of heartache.
We've all been in a job where they would put you in a quadrant for that. I'm
Yeah.
a hard upper right.
Yeah, totally. I'm like, and yeah, I guess my answer defines my personality type, which is 10, obsessive all the way, or not at all, 0.
It's weird because I've never taken that approach to that question. Really, like well, I'm like really analyzing you, but that is kind of the purpose of it. Is
Yeah,
and I didn't
totally.
get it from anything. Like it's just something like it's
so
like,
funny. It's a good
I
question.
really, I
catch
really
myself
love
this all
the
the time.
idea that like there are those of us, I think probably you and I, that are like, no, this is music and it's meant to be listened to.
Yeah.
And I'm not even thinking about the number on the dial. It's just like, this is as far as the dial goes or whatever, or it's off so I can talk.
Yeah.
But then there are other people like Beth and Sean that are like, no,
Weird
actually,
rules
I
about their
visually
volume.
have to see an even number or else I cannot enjoy this music.
I
just
will
can't
say
stop
there's
thinking about it,
nothing
man.
More frustrating than trying to crank it up because that song is just like the jam and it deserves to be played loud. But it
It's
it
only
can
got
go
so
louder
much.
somewhere, but it's just not doing it.
It's not there. It's true.
There's nothing that irks me every time.
So true.
We just road trip to Colorado, and on the way back, we were listening to New Year's Day bowl games, and I discovered that my wife needs the volume on in the car if we're listening to a game, which is super rad that she's super into listening to games on the on the road. But it needs to be at like stadium level. She wants that thing cranked to 11
Yeah,
to
yeah.
hear it all. She's like, why would we listen to this if we're not actually listening to it?
Yeah.
I'm like, right on.
That's
Crank
awesome.
it up.
So to go off of your 20 to 23 to 20.
Yeah.
So my wife, she'll I'll have it up and it'll be loud, and then she'll turn it down, but it's at an obnoxious quiet. Like
Yeah.
it's not in the middle where it's like, okay, we can
Turn it off
talk
already,
and,
yeah.
it's not whatever. So I made a game out of just slowly using that volume on the steering wheel.
Yep.
Just,
That's great because it
How
doesn't show on the thing.
yeah,
Oh,
how
it's
loud
genius.
can I get it before she notices that,
That
I
is
turned it up?
genius.
All right, we've got to get you out of here. Last question.
Yeah.
What is your "what the f am I doing" moment?
Yeah. Can I give one really short, silly one, but then give a real one?
You can give as many as you want.
All right. Short, silly one. You guys ever heard of the store Buckle?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it was probably like, like 8 years ago now. And we were at the mall in Eugene, and we were shopping around, and my wife was shopping for something where I didn't want to be in there. So I was just walking around, and I walked into Buckle. I'd never been in the store before. No idea what it was. Didn't know what they had. I just saw like guy stuff. So I'm like, I'll go in there.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they only carry bedazzled jeans.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. But I go in there, and I'm just going to fast forward to the "what the f am I doing" moment. I come out of a dressing room wearing, I kid you not, 9 layers on me and 4 necklaces, a bunch of wristbands. I've got a hat, and she's holding another hat for me to try with the ensemble, and I've got bedazzled jeans on. and I looked in the mirror, and I go, What am I doing here?
Am I trying to
What is-
shoplift right now? Is that
what
what's
is?
Wow, boy.
And I don't know if you guys have ever been in a Buckle. Their sales tactics are fairly aggressive.
Yeah.
And I'm the kind of person that's like, I'm not trying to make other people feel bad. So she's like, oh my gosh, you would look just so great in this. She goes, come on. And she goes to the dressing room and throws all this stuff in there. She goes, put it on. I just want to see. And I'm like, not even, and I think now with some wisdom behind me, I could have easily been like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But at the time I'm like, I guess I'm doing this.
Right.
And it was one of those moments where I was like, how did I get here? I mean, no joke. I had on like an undershirt, tank top, t-shirt, long sleeve shirt, jacket, like all these layers on, and she wanted me to buy all of it.
Yeah.
And my wife came
kind
into
of
Buckle and she goes, like, what is going on? Like, what is happening here? It was wild. It was a weird experience.
Sorry,
I don't
honey,
go to
this
Buckle
lady
anymore
has
because of that.
she's a Jedi.
Yeah.
I went there recently because I needed pants, and we were traveling, and my pants that I brought to wear had like a tear in them or whatever. I'm like, oh shoot, all right, I gotta go buy pants. Going to the mall, and I roll into Buckle, and same thing, bedazzled pants. And I'm talking to the salesperson, and she's like, yeah, you just go into the room, close the door. I'm gonna throw a bunch of pants for you to try on up over the door. I'm like, okay. And so every one of them is like, bedazzled, bedazzled, bedazzled. And pretty soon she's like, so what do you think of
Bedazzled
these?
a brand?
No.
it's
It's like
gems
just
on the
gems
jeans.
on
They
the
have
on the
gems
butt.
on it.
Yeah.
Every
Sometimes
single
even
pair.
with a flap over the back pockets.
For dudes.
For
Every-
dudes.
every
yeah.
single pair.
And so and she goes, she's like, what do you think of those? I'm still pretty happily married. Do you have anything that aren't bedazzled? Like I haven't gone through that divorce yet.
That's so great.
And she was like, it was so funny because it took her a second and she was like, okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
And then she brought me pants that weren't bedazzled. I'm like, oh, you do have them.
They do have. They must be in the back, hidden somewhere.
Yeah.
That's.
In the back.
Do you have a happily?
We got another one. Doesn't want the bedazzles. Yeah.
This asshole's happily married too.
All right, send these off to Claire's.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you're
Anyway, so the actual moment though was truly like the life-changing, pivotal like moment in my life, and it was the first time, I can honestly say, the first time I ever had like self-awareness. I think up until this point in my life, I had been like constantly just being like, I'm the best. I know it. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and I'll win no matter what. Even though my track record like didn't showcase that, I just felt that way, and I always thought confidence, right? And I finally had a moment of self-awareness, and it's when I moved to LA. It was shortly after my wife and I got married, and we moved to LA, lived with my aunt. My aunt had a house in Beverly Hills. Her and her husband, very well off. They just gave us a part of their house to live in for free, like living for free. And the whole reason we went down there was because I was going to be the next like big producer and make beats for like Drake. Like that was like the plan, you know?
Be the only
like,
one.
no joke, like that the plan was to go down and make it as a producer.
Yeah.
Like that was really what I was doing. I mean, you remember I used to make music and
Yeah.
I moved my wife from our home down to Beverly Hills to do this. And we were there for 8 or 9 months and I still to this day never made $1 from music. And I didn't even have like an opportunity to do anything for anybody, right? And the one thing I had going, and I spent 2 days putting this whole thing together, was my aunt, her masseuse, also was George Lucas's wife's masseuse, and she said she'd give him my demo CD.
big in the rap game, George Lucas.
And I'm not playing. I was like, this is my moment. This is my moment. This is it. I'm going to make it. Holy smokes. I can't believe it. I was telling people about it. It was like this thing. And I remember we went to Disneyland to take a picture of me to put on the CD cover, and gave it to her. And I remember the self-awareness moment came like 2 weeks after I'd given her the CD. And I said the sentence out loud, and it just punched me in my brain. And I said, what am I doing? I'm waiting to hear back from George Lucas's wife's masseuse, whether or not he likes my music. And I was like, it was almost like this moment of just absolute, I unlocked something in my brain.
Yeah.
A door opened and I went, and I looked at my wife, who's like, we were living, don't get me wrong, living in Beverly Hills was not bad, but still, we're living in this room at my aunt's place, and I'm working at a coffee shop there. We're not like just what I mean. What is going on here? Like, is this really what I'm going to do with my life? And we decided the next day to move home.
Wow.
And that's when I came back. I reached out to you, got a job with you, and that trajectory is how I ended up doing what I'm doing today.
You're welcome.
I mean, no joke, bro. No joke. I mean, I don't want to get weird. Like you play a critical piece in that journey of the transition from self-awareness and realizing like, man, I need to be a little more humble. Like I need to be willing to not think I'm always the best in the room. And I got to always be willing to, like when I was working with you, it was like, I'll do stock.
Yeah.
I'll do the waste tank. Like, and I had to try to not be too good for stuff. Because at the time I'm like, George Lucas's masseuses, he's gonna hear my demo CD. So it was just like this weird thing, and that just made me finally start to care about my future and like what I was gonna do.
I may only be here for a minute. If this masseuse / agent gets back to me, I'm out.
I don't even think she spoke English, to be honest with you.
I mean, you could get a call from George Lucas at any minute now. So
What
he's
if,
got that
what if
Disney
he just
money,
finds
so-
it? He finds it at his house somewhere. It's like, this kid's got talent.
Jay, hey, somebody get Jay-Z on the phone
Oh
here.
my
I've got
gosh.
something here that he needs to hear.
Yeah, but that was it, man. That was that moment of realization, and I finally I realized again that moment. If you guys have ever had that moment of like self-awareness hitting you in the face and being like, "Whoa!"
I feel like I've been there. I don't know if I've had like the full-fledged one yet, but I
Like
feel
the
like I'm getting
uppercut.
there.
Yeah, for me it was an uppercut. It
People
was
aren't always smart enough to realize that that's what it is. I mean, sometimes it's just like, oh, I was just having a bad day or whatever. Like I mean, good for you for having the self-awareness to be like, okay, wait, like, and it's not, you changed life paths. You didn't change the trajectory. You were still moving up, right? I mean, you had to take a small step back, obviously.
Right.
But I mean, so many people I think would have just missed that exit entirely and just kept on trucking until
right.
they,
Well, and I don't at all look at any of that stuff as regret either, because my understanding of music, which while I can't make you a fat beat, does help me greatly when it comes to producing videos.
And you got to meet Robert Downey Jr.
And I wouldn't have had that story at all had I
Right?
not gone down there.
This
It's true.
podcast would have been like 25% less cool.
It's so true.
So thank you.
I could have only name dropped Lil Wayne at that point.
Right? That would have
Ugh.
been, you balance it out with a really, really cool one.
So true.
So on behalf of What the F Am I Doing, thank you very much. You guys, Daniel, Jeremiah, where can people find you if they need to have some bitchin' documentary footage?
Or a fat beat.
Or a fat beat.
Or a fat beat. I mean, hey, I got the stuff still. I'm just saying. Yeah, I mean, the best way to hit me up, honestly, is danieljeremiah.com. It's my website. You can reach out there, message me there. I'm on Instagram. We were talking about it before we started recording. I'm not super crazy active. I'm trying to change that. But for work, definitely just my website, danieljeremiah.com. Super easy.
That is super easy, especially if you know how to spell Jeremiah.
That's actually a good point. That's a toughie.
It's not a weird spelling either. It's just
Yeah.
Jeremiah, but
I'm holding on to that domain, by the way, because there's a really popular NFL analyst whose name is Daniel Jeremiah, and I know one day he's going to want that domain.
I was looking
And I will sell it happily for a healthy fee.
I was looking for one of your videos on YouTube one time and then spilled into that Daniel Jeremiah's realm real hard. And I was like, well, this is cool too.
Yeah, he destroys me on search results. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, take it from a bunch of guys who started a podcast called What the F Am I Doing? Sometimes you've got some similarly named stuff out there.
So true.
You just gotta stand out from the crowd, man.
That's right.
That's right.
That's it.
That's
Boom,
right.
baby.
Your people need to find you.
We'll
That's
put
right.
a link in the description for his website.
Yeah.
So you don't have to try and spell
In
it.
case
Thank
you're
you.
like me, don't know how to spell Jeremiah. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. This is really cool.
Hell yeah, man.
Hey, our pleasure.
Right on.
Well, all right. We've made it to the end of another exciting episode of What the F Am I Doing? Hey, listen, big thanks to Daniel for joining us and sharing all of the really cool stuff that he had to share. Also, I'd like to shout out our good friend, producer Nate, who's behind the camera and the soundboards, and he puts all this stuff together. I can't thank him enough for the hard work that he does. Big thanks to Sean for hanging out with us and being just sexy on the couch. Anyway, hey, listen, do us a favor while you're here. Check us out on all of our other socials as well. If you haven't liked those things already, what the F are you doing? Anyway, thanks again. We'll see you next time with another exciting episode of What the F Am I Doing?